You love anime waifus, I love anime waifus. If you're a fan of this channel, or heck, you have been watching me for any length of time, you would know that while I completed the ultimate achievement IRL, acquiring the ultimate waifu, I am always on the hunt for some juicy in-game waifus because, well, let's be real, we all are. Even Mrs Stix can appreciate some waifu and husbando love. And that's pretty much what we're here to discuss today. The list of, well, the best anime gacha games in 2021 going into 2022. And with gacha comes waifus. Now, I'm starting this off with one of my 3 favorite anime RPGs. I feel like it's probably better that I go and both start with and end with my favorites to kind of set the tone of the video, you know? So, Honkai Impact. I mean, let's be real. You've played Honkai Impact. If you haven't, then you have been missing out, as this is one of the highest quality anime RPGs that you will come across on the mobile platform. Even more than that, Honkai Impact is completely cross-platform compatible, meaning that you can play this on both PC and mobile devices, and it looks just as impressive on both. This is one of the largest, most influential games on mobile devices, and the waifus present within it have gone down as some of the most desired video game characters in history from thirsty gamers. The game features some highly impressive, fast, fluid action combat, and a level-based system that provides players a plethora of different environments with which to engage enemies in. Where most anime RPGs feature traditional level-based progression, Lord of Heroes takes a slightly different approach. This is a game with more of an emphasis on strategy, sure, like at its core, it's exactly what you'd expect. There's a world map, there are a surplus of different levels to run with waves of enemies to engage. There are various difficulty levels that make the game progressively harder the further you push through, and all of this is intertwined with not only a unique narrative, but also a unique way of pursuing said narrative. Lord of Heroes utilizes a turn-based combat system, having players and enemies take turns smacking one another. There are various abilities you can combo together with other heroes, and honestly, the combat itself is gorgeous. Gran Saga is an interesting beast. On the one hand, that is one of only 2 MMORPGs in this list, and that is mostly due to the fact that traditionally, MMOs don't really have much in the way of character gacha. You create a character and you only use that character over the course of the game. Gran Saga is different though, in so that it provides you plenty of different characters that you can recruit to utilize in combat. I feel as though this goes away to providing additional depth and freedom to your character. As this is an MMO, the world is large, the world is open, and there's plenty to do. You can group up with other players and you can participate in every type of content together, which is something that I feel is missing from basic traditional anime RPGs. Although this might not necessarily be what you're after, and that's fine. Gran Saga, though, seems to utilize a mostly lock-on combat system as opposed to a full action combat system like Honkai or Genshin Impact, which, at least to me, is a major disappointment. One of the only things that I found disappointing about the game. Action Taimanin needs to be played purely for the plot. I mean, sure, much like Honkai Impact, this game takes place predominantly in segregated instanced environments. These typically have a few different sets of enemies split around that you'd make your way through rather quickly before finishing with a small, or at times a much larger scale boss battle. But my god, the plot in this game is actually unreal. I've watched the animated versions that the game is based on, and well, there isn't really much to say other than wow. The action combat utilized within the game is fantastic quality and a lot of fun, but if you're not here to admire your waifus, then I don't really know what you're doing in the game, man. They really don't get much better than this, trust me. And if you want to see these characters, all of your waifus in a little more detail, then you can always go ahead and watch the animated series about their adventures. Guardian Tales is probably one of the highest quality, most fair gacha games that I've ever played. Not only that, but this is perhaps one of the highest quality mobile games I've played in general, with me having taken multiple sponsorships for it and doing several dedicated videos on it. It features one of the greatest narratives of all time, pulling from things like Zelda, things like Dragon Ball Z and more, making for some ridiculously over-the-top moments that you would not expect from a game of its kind. Granted, I wouldn't say that the waifus and husbandos are comparable to games like Taimanin or Honkai Impact, but the game overall is easily as good quality, if not better. The game takes place in large instance zones, much like Taimanin, but provide players a variety of complex puzzles and mysteries to solve, along with options of opening up new paths and side quests. The combat is also complete action, so that's pretty sick. Tower Fantasy is the only other MMO in this list. This is a game that I'm anticipating more than almost any other. This genuinely looks absolutely incredible and is scheduled to release within China in December. I feel like in terms of visual, aesthetic, and combat, this is one of the few games that could legitimately give Genshin Impact a run for its money. This game features a gorgeous open world and some ridiculously good looking combat. You possess the ability to swap between a variety of different weapons and recruit a plethora of different waifus that wield each weapon specifically, which is pretty sick. Kind of like how Genshin does it, I guess. However, you also get to create your own character from scratch, something that MMOs traditionally allow for, but RPGs don't. The waifu selection is also pretty sick. With the recent character overhauls, I personally feel like they look way better than ever. King's Raid is one of the most stunning side-scrolling anime RPGs that I have ever played. Not that I've actually really played many on my phone, and the fact that your characters actually change their physical appearance as you continue to upgrade them is pretty sick. So, the game, much like the majority of RPGs, is level-based. You click a level, you engage waves of enemies in combat, and you progress with the story. Some of the levels allow for you to physically control your character and navigate the zone, giving you a semblance of control and freedom to unlock different routes at your own pace. Combat takes a form of auto attacks, with characters and enemies running back and forth, exchanging blows, and you being capable of choosing which abilities you want to use at what point, leaving some room for a level of strategy and forethought. And the waifus. Oh man. Now, I feel like I often get both King's Raid and Epic 7 mixed up, not because of how they look necessarily, but because they're both very similar types of games. Don't get me wrong, both are absolutely gorgeous in their own way. Both have fantastic combat. Wait, okay, hold on. Now that I think about it, I think Epic 7 is the game that allows for you to physically navigate areas in-game as opposed to King's Raid. Oh man, crap. Well, you know what? Either way, Epic 7, much like King's Raid, is a horizontal anime RPG. You move left and right across various different maps, engaging enemies and unlocking new areas to explore. And with new areas come new characters and more story, naturally. There are plenty of different levels to unlock and plenty of hidden levels at that. This game though, and more specifically the waifus in this game, are absolutely incredible looking. Some of the characters are juicier than any other I have ever seen. Do I even need to talk about Genshin Impact? I feel like everyone has played this, and for people that haven't played it, they've opted not to purely because everyone they know has, and they've seen so much of it that it's almost as if they've invested the time into it themselves. Genshin Impact art makes up the bulk of Rule 34 message boards, and Twitter, and Instagram, and TikTok cosplays. Man, this game has absolutely taken over the world, even despite how its player base is generally perceived. And there's a reason for that. Genshin Impact is the highest quality open world anime RPG released to date. This is an absolutely stunning game. I'm not kidding. There isn't a better looking mobile game out there right now. It features some basic yet incredibly fluid, high quality action combat, something that you'd expect out of a console game but on a handheld somehow. It has absolutely incredible waifus to collect and to observe and to use in combat, of course, with a lot of characters having their own unique backstory, their own unique fighting styles, and well, Rule 34. I have not found a higher quality game of this type, and I hope to eventually see something take the crown from MiHoYo. And while there's no doubt in my mind that Genshin Impact is by far the highest quality anime RPG on mobile devices, I cannot help myself from being absolutely addicted to Punishing Grey Raven. This is like Honkai Impact, but with a slightly different graphical style. It features the same type of progression system, various different levels that you play through. It has the same high quality action combat, albeit in Punishing Grey Raven, you're capable of playing with 3 different heroes at once as opposed to the single character you use in Honkai, if I recall. Admittedly, there weren't really that many characters to collect when I played it, but I did play it quite extensively over the course of the first 45 days of the game releasing, and honestly, spent a little too much money on it. Money well spent though, in my opinion. And that is it. Those are the 10 best anime RPG gacha games that I've played over the course of 2021. These are also very likely to be the same games that I would recommend playing in 2022, meaning that if you haven't played these yet, or you're simply looking for a good anime gacha game to play, then these are your options. If you think of one that I might have missed though, do let me know down in the comments section below, and I will take a look at it whenever I can and potentially include it at some point in the future.
Someday soon I'm gonna make it, yeah.